Hey, what's going on, guys? It's your boy Sasuke Uchiha back with another video. As you guys were able to tell by my by the title of this video, this is an amorphage deck list, but it's a little bit of a tweak given by some advice that I got from some little tips and details that I got from certain YouTubers, and let's see how well it plays out. Well, actually, this is a deck list first, and the next video I will give you guys a um you know the whole rundown of the ways you can play this deck. Um, Actually, guys, this is going to be a way that we're going to run through it. We're going to actually learn how to play this deck together, because this is actually still new to me, and I've been dying to play this deck for the longest. Anyway, other than that, let's give a huge shout out to my homeboy Ruben Gonzalez. He helped me get this deck, and I had some spare cards, though in real life, I am missing a few, but that will come later down the line. Anyway, let's get started. So first off, we are running your obvious 3 Odd Eyes Revolution Dragon. You cannot pendulum summon monsters except dragon monsters. Okay, no harm. This entire deck is basically based off of dragons. This effect cannot be negated. Doesn't have to be. We won't need to pendulum summon anything other than dragons. You can target one dragon, fusion, synchro, or Xyz monster in your graveyard. Destroy this card, and if you do, special summon that target. So basically, we practically get like the bring back like a tornado dragon, and well, that's actually about it because that's all we can get back. But other than that, yeah, it's pretty good. Cannot be normal summon. Must be pendulum summoned from your hand, or be special summoned from your hand by attributing 3 dragon monsters: 1 fusion, 1 synchro, and 1 Xyz. It's all cool. We could easily pendulum summon him out, because he is within his own pendulum rights, if I recall correctly. You can discard this card and pay 500 life points. Add 1 level 8 or lower dragon pendulum monster from your deck to your hand. Okay, that's pretty good. Gains attack equal to half of your opponent's life points. I really don't understand that little spec of it, but I'm guessing that if you were to summon out that monster, that you know, we were talking about like the add the 1 level 8 or lower pendulum dragon pendulum monster. Basically, you would get the ability to it would gain attack and defense equal to half of your opponent's life points. So say your opponent has 4,000 life points, it would gain like 4,000 defense and attack. So this card actually basically helps you search out your the amorphages that you want, as long as they are dragon and pendulum. So that means we won't be able to really bring out your ritual monster, which is that one right there. You know what, guys? Let's speed through this. I'm sorry. Let's just speed through this. I don't really know how much time we have. We have the one amorphage, mainly just to neither player can special summon monsters from their extra deck except amorphages. So basically, you lock them out of the extra deck, and while you control a morphage card, any card sent to the graveyard is banished instead, except for morphage cards. So basically, like, if this card, or this card were to be sent to the graveyard, or even this card, it wouldn't get banished if Goliath was inside your pendulum scale. Of course, we run the 1 Supreme King Gate 0 because you do have a level 2, some level 2 monsters, and you want to be able to get them out, but with the regular morphages, you won't be able to get them out at all, so he comes in handy. You have your sloth, which has always been a staple card in every pendulum deck, because everybody always looked for a way to, you know, hey, let's get rid of this card, let's get rid of that card. And basically, if it's in your pendulum scale, you basically just told your opponent, screw you, you're not going to be able to add any cards from your deck to your hand. You have to draw them instead. So your opponent's going to be really pissed about that. Neither player can special summon monsters from the extra deck, so basically every amorphage monster has that ability where neither player can special summon monsters from the extra deck. I think there's only a few that actually don't have that. Now, you may be asking, why are you only running 2? And that's actually a good question, because it is a little bricky at 3. But yes, you run only 2 Supreme King Dragon Darkwurm, mainly for that special summon, so you can perform a link plays. You get 2 extra, like, you get 2 extra, Exes plays. It's pretty damn good, and again, it helps you search out your, donuts, so basically that helps you out so much. You have your peformapal skullcrobat joker, so say you draw into this card, but you didn't get your odd-eyes revolution. You can use peformapal skullcrobat joker mainly to search out your odd-eyes revolution, so you can add a level scale 12 or anything like that. So basically that actually helps you out a lot. You won't really need anything else for that. And again, of course, more rank 4 plays and link plays. Amorphage Pride, basically, neither player takes any effect damage, so if your opponent is basically trying to mill you for burn you, no, it basically tells him, yeah, no, forget you, you won't be able to. Of course, as usual, but this one is, if this card is pendulum summon or flip face up, neither player can special summon monsters from the extra deck while this card is on the field. Is face up on the field. So basically, yeah. Like I was saying, every amorphage monster, you're only gonna want to run 2 Pride, and mainly because you don't want to have too many amorphages in your deck, but you don't want to have too little. You know what I mean? You run Envy. I personally think that Envy helps you out with like Solomon grades, anything that heavily relies on chain links. Like say you activate a card, they chain, that's like chain link 1 or chain link 2, something like that. I think it's a chain link 1. Then they, like, basically, like, anything that's chain link 2 or higher, yeah, forget it. Can't. Of course, you can't special summon monsters while this, from the extra deck, except amorphage monsters while this card's face up on the board. You only run 2 of Envy. You run 2 Greed. It helps out with spell cards, so trap cards. So, like, say your opponent's running a deck that's heavily based on trap cards. This card will help you out and will basically screw your opponent over with the traps. And of course, no extra deck summons. You run 3 lechery, and there is a particular reason why 3 lechery. Is because everybody runs spell cards. Unless you're running super heavy Sams, you ain't running spell cards. But with this card, basically spell cards or their effects cannot be activated. Neither player can activate spell cards nor their effects while this card is on the field. So if you can get this card out before you get out lechery, you shouldn't really have a problem. Amorphage Gluttony, you want to have this card because this card will basically stop a Dragoon. Because monsters cannot, while you control an Amorphage monster, monsters cannot activate their card effects except Amorphage monsters. So basically, you activate this card in your Pendulum Scale, you Pendulum Summon, say an amorphage monster, your opponent tries to activate Dragoon's ability to pop that monster that you summoned. Think again, you can't, you're stuck. You know what I mean? Then of course you run only 1 Amorphactor Pain, the Imagination Dracoverlord. Basically, if this card is ritual summoned, you can ritual summon this card with amorphous persona. If this card is ritual summoned, your opponent skips their next main phase 1. So basically your opponent's screwed if you bring this card out on your first turn. Your opponent skips their next main phase 1. Negate the effects of face up, fusion, synchro, and Xyz monsters while they're on the field. So while he's on the board and you have an attack booster and your opponent say has, oh, I don't know, a dragoon. Like he brings out a dragoon after you have this guy on the board. Yeah, dragoon is basically screwed because of this card's ability. If this card is sent from the field to the graveyard, you can discard one Dracoverlord monster from your deck, or add one Dracoverlord monster from your deck to your hand, except a more factor paying the imagination Dracoverlord. Now, granted, we don't run any Dracoverlord or Dracoverlord, so you don't really have to think too much about that. We run 3 Ties of the Brethren mainly so that way we can, like, say we have amorphage Pride on the board, and we already have 2 amorphage monsters in the scales. Instead of having to basically waste only 1 monster and then have to sacrifice one of your pendulum scales, this will be the 3 Ties of the Brethren. Basically, all you're going to do is pay 2,000 life points, target 1 level 4 or lower monster you control. For the rest of this turn, after this card resolves, you can add special summon monsters. Also, special summon 2 monsters from your deck with the same attribute, type, and level as that monster, but with different names from each other. So, that's going to help out so much. Of course, you're only running 1 Dragon Shrine, mainly so that way you can send your Supreme King Darkwurm to the graveyard, then effective Darkwurm because you don't control nothing on the board. Special summon it, then add your Supreme King Gate 0. You only run 1 terraforming to bring out to add your field spells, so that's nothing really new. You run 3 Ignite reloads for draw power. I know a lot of people tend to run like Pot of Demolchi, no, not even Pot of Demolchi, Pot of Desires, Pot of, like, all of the different pots. I rather run Ignite Reload because you could just recycle your monsters instead of sending them to the grave. You run 3 amorphage infection, mainly because all amorphage monsters on the field gain 100 attack and defense for each amorphage card on the field. So if you have more than 1 amorphage monster on the field, they gain more. If a monster or monsters in your hand or you control is tributed or destroyed by battle or card effect, you can add 1 amorphage monster from your card from your deck to your hand. You can only use this effect of amorphage infection. So basically, you get to add a monster or your trap card back to your hand. You run only 2 amorphous persona, only for this ability. All amorphage monsters on the field gain 300 attack and defense up to twice per turn. If an amorphage monster or monsters you control is tributed, draw 1 card. You can banish this card from your graveyard, tribute pendulum monsters from your hand or field whose levels exactly equal 8, then ritual summon 1 amorphactor paying the imagination Dracoverlord from your hand. So that basically helps you out. You tribute from your you use the tribute ability from your pendulum scales for maintenance. You gain 2 extra draw powers, and then every time a monster, like say your opponent uses a kaiju to tribute your monster, yeah, forget it. You just gained like another draw power, so your opponent has to really be careful with that ability. And then you run 3 amorphage lysis. All monsters on the field except amorphage monsters lose 100 attack and defense for each amorphage card on the field. So you have to have a lot of amorphage monsters on the board. If a card's in your pendulum zone is destroyed except during the damage step, you can place 1 amorphage pendulum monster from your deck in your pendulum zone. You can only use this effect of amorphage lysis once per turn. So say you cannot make the quota to protect you, to keep up maintenance, amorphage lysis got your back. Now, we run one gravity controller, only for the ability that you cannot, you just gotta link one non-link monster in the extra monster zone, so that basically helps out. He becomes a wall monster. Yes, you still take damage, but he cannot be destroyed, so basically you just gain, like, you know, a bit extra. You have one heretic seal of the heavenly spheres, mainly because you run dragons. It only needs 2 dragon monsters, and this card basically helps you get a dragon card from your hand or deck onto the board, make its attack and defense 0, which really doesn't matter because you still gain attack and defense. You have your Mrs. Radiant because you only need 2 earth monsters, and most of your monsters are earth monsters. You have your Borrelsword dragon, mainly because it's way better than Borrelsword, and it basically you basically get 2 attacks and your opponent basically gets screwed over, like, real fucking quick. You run one number 60 Dugares, the Timeless, mainly because you can detach 2 XC material from the... Okay, so mainly you get skip your next draw phase, also draw 2 cards, then discard 1 card. So basically you get 2 cards, but you minus 1 and you miss out on your draw phase, which doesn't really matter. You can skip your next main phase 1, so also special summon 1 monster from your graveyard in defense position. So basically, if you manage to properly summon out this guy and he gets sent to the graveyard for whatever reason, and you get this guy out, this one got your back. You just have to skip your next main phase. You get him real quick. If you want to do double attack and it's close to the end of the game, you can skip your next battle phase. Also double the attack of 1 monster you control until the end of this turn. So that basically, like, you can double the attack of your ritual, your sloth, or if you're able to pendulum him out, this guy, which basically his attack his attack and defense is equal to half of your opponent's life points. So yeah, your opponent is kind of screwed. If he's also on the board, you can, I did not read that part, I'm sorry, you can pay half your life points, shuffle all other cards from the field and the graveyards into the deck. So basically a restarter. Wait. You run 1 exciton knight, mainly because once per chain during your main phase or your opponent's battle phase, if your opponent basically has more cards in their hand and field than you do, as a quick effect, you could detach 1 XC material from this card, destroy all other cards on the field. Also, your opponent takes no further damage this turn. So basically, you just nuke your opponent's board and tell them, yeah, okay, I'll do you the favor, you don't take nothing. You only run 1 Heartlandraco, because of the fact that it's a good wall monster. Basically, if it's the only monster on the board and you actually control a face-up spell card, your opponent cannot target it for attack, so he cannot attack whatsoever, unless, you know, he's running Ghost Tricks. You could detach 1 XC material from this card. This card can attack your opponent directly, but other monsters cannot attack. Yeah, it's not that bad, you know, it's not really that bad, but it's pretty solid. Bagooska, mainly because an attack position cannot be destroyed by your opponent's card effects, and while it's in defense, all monsters on the field turn to defense, so also negate the activation of monsters that were in defense position when the effect was activated. So basically with this card, you only pay 1 maintenance by detaching 1 extra material, and you mainly want to bring this guy out in defense, so that way you can say, forget your defense position monsters, everything's going into defense, and everything's negated. Tornado Dragon, we run 2 of it mainly because it's basically back row removal. You don't really any more of a reason for that. I personally run Crooked Cook mainly because you could basically detach 1 Xyz material, destroy everything on the board, and gain 300 attack for each until the end of the turn. Or for each monster until the end of the turn. So, and then again, while I control no other cards on the field, this card is unaffected by other card effects. So basically, if you were to go up against the infamous Buster Bladers, and you have nothing else on the board except for him, your opponent's screwed. Because he'll bring out, like, Buster Blader the Dragon Destroyer Swordsman, fucking Dragoon, he'll bring out all that other stuff, and this guy's unaffected, and you just effect, detach, forget it. The reason why I'm running a Timethief Redoer, a lot of people only want to run it in the Timethief deck, and only a few want to run it in certain other decks. I'm toying with it a bit, but basically, who doesn't want to get the chance to make your opponent lose cards from the top of his deck? And then you could detach up to 3 different types of materials from this card, then apply the following effects. Monster, you could banish this card until the end phase. Spell card, draw 1 card, so you basically get a free draw. Trap, place 1 face-up card your opponent controls at the top or on the top of the deck. So basically, if your opponent controls a card that you really don't like, detach a trap and tell him screw you, put it back at the top, and then during your next standby phase, tell him, okay, guess what? And he's gonna say, what? Thank you, I'm taking that one I did not like and putting it on as material. Of course, you're running 1 number 39 Utopia mainly for negation of attacks. Then you run the evilswam or ouroboros mainly because of the fact that it only requires 3 level 4s.
Not a pen, the little stylus. I need one.
Sorry about that, guys. I'm terribly sorry. You could target. It requires 3 level 4s. You can detach 1 extra material from this card, then activate one of these effects. Each effect can only be used once while this card is face up on the field. So basically, you only get the chance to use it once each. Target 1 card your opponent controls. Return that target to the hand. Perfect. Send 1 random card from your opponent's hand to the graveyard. Not bad. So basically, you get the chance to blindly mill. And at the same time, target 1 card your opponent in your opponent's graveyard. Banish that. You can banish that target. So basically, like, if anything, you get that ability that you've always been hoping for. And then it's gonna be hard, so I need to look up that 1 card effect real fast. So I hope you guys can.
Here you go. Hello? Yes. All right. Hello. Yes. Hello.
You looking for my wife?
Who's your wife?
You know who she is, Jasmine Bryce. She was representing your friend, Grace Waters, and she said she can come by here.
Oh, God.
And then, of course, we run, the 1 lightning. Cannot be used as Xyz material. If this card battles, your opponent cannot activate cards or effects until the end of the damage step. Once per chain. If this card battles an opponent's monster, While this card has a Utopia monster, Xyz monster as material, quick effect, you can detach 2 Xyz material from this card. This card's attack becomes 5,000 during that damage calculation only. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Again, this is my take on the Odd Eyes Amorphage deck list. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I'll see you guys here next time.